Hello there, Ben Bowers, the Spirit Specialist, and I am here today to talk to you about a new release from the Nc'Nean distillery, Nc'Nean Huntress. Although it doesn't say it on the front, it does actually say it on the side there. And this is the first of what will be a seasonal release. Now, I don't know if this is for a year for each season or whether this is every roughly springtime one will come out. But it just says it's the inaugural seasonal release that is looking at sort of experimentation with the whiskey making process. Nc'Nean as a distillery and Annabelle, who's their founder, is kind of very forward thinking in terms of whiskey making and kind of being a bit, not fast and loose because that kind of does it a disservice, but you know, being very experimental in terms of how you make whiskey and trying to kind of break down these traditions that are very much present throughout the industry. So before I tell you what this tastes like, let me give you some background information about the distillery and also about this particular bottling.
The Nc'Nean distillery sits on the Morven Peninsula on the west coast of the mainland of Scotland, overlooking the Isle of Mull. It's the most westerly distillery on the mainland, but it only just claims that title as the nearby Ardnamurchan distillery comes very close. The distillery itself was founded by Annabelle Thomas, who after a road trip around various distilleries in Scotland left her job as a consultant in the City of London in 2013 and began setting up an eco-conscious distillery on her parents' farm in the Drimmin estate, with distilling commencing in March of 2017. It's the first fully organic distillery powered by 100% renewable energy. The wood chips for the biomass boiler are sourced from a local forest, all byproducts are recycled as plant and animal feed for the estate, and even the bottles use 100% recycled glass. In July 2021, Environmental Strategies verified the 2020 carbon footprint for the distillery as net zero, making it the first Scotch whisky distillery to do so, which itself is an achievement 20 years in advance of what the Scotch whisky industry as a whole aims to hit. The name Nc'Nean is a shortening of, well, Nc'Nean, who was the Queen of Spirits in Gaelic legend. She was a huntress, but also a fierce protector of nature, and the use of her name emphasises what Annabelle and her small team are trying to achieve. Nc'Nean single malt is bottled in batches, and detailed information about each batch can be found on their website. So far, each batch has used a combination of 65% shaved, toasted and recharred red wine casks and 35% ex-Bourbon barrels.
Huntress is the inaugural release of a seasonal series exploring Nc'Nean's pursuit of new flavours in whiskey making. In this instance, the trial of fermentation using a yeast that was commonly used in rum production proved incredibly successful, resulting in a limited number of 4,447 bottles being released of whiskey that was originally distilled in August 2018 and matured in a batch of 61% STR red wine casks and 39% ex-Bourbon casks for 3.5 years before being disgorged on 3rd of March 2022. It was bottled at 48.5% ABV, and as with all Nc'Nean releases, no chill filtration took place and no colour was added. Okay, so limited edition, 4,447 bottles. I was very kindly given a small sample from who is now their sales manager, who I used to work with at Gordon MacPhail, Kat. So Kat, thank you very much for this, to allow me to taste it and also do this video. So 48.5%, so not cask strength, but they have gone for a slightly higher ABV than you might expect, just to kind of get that balance right between the sort of the ABV level and also the flavour profile that's in there. Now every Nc'Nean I've had so far has been light, sprightly, youthful. They do bottle it quite young, and I know for some people they kind of want it to be older, but it's very much a house style of Nc'Nean being this kind of light, youthful whiskey, very fruit forward, but there's also that sprightliness to it as well. You know, they make no bones about the fact that, you know, they don't market it as a cocktail whiskey, but they do kind of talk about, you know, essentially a scotch and soda, a highball, as the kind of house pour almost. So it's, you know, for some whiskey drinkers, you know, more traditional whiskey drinkers that kind of want that, you know, oh, I want it smooth and all, whatever the hell smooth means. But, you know, this has more zinginess. It's got more youthfulness than some people would like. But I actually really appreciate the fact that they're not just going like, oh, we're going to put it in a first fill sherry cask, we're going to make it really rich and fruity, and you've got to drink it on its own, you know, don't put it with ice, blah, 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 blah. Annabelle and the team are very much kind of like, look, play around with it, have fun with it. You know, we just want to make a really good drinking whiskey that will drink well neat and will also work with cocktails as well. So, the Huntress, this limited edition that they've done. So on the nose, and what I'm trying not to do is look for a rummy element, even though the yeast that has been used has normally used for rum production. But kind of knowing that, I can't help but kind of subconsciously look for rummy elements. But there is a really nice fruitiness in here. And whereas sort of standard Nc'Nean tends to be a bit more kind of like green apple, kind of very fresh orchard fruit, this feels a little bit softer. And there is a little hint of tropical fruit on here as well. There's a little bit of mango and passion fruit, but it's still quite light and fresh. It's not the sweetness there, but it's not a sugary sweetness. It's a light, zingy sweetness. Not quite citrusy though, but there is a light tropical fruit element. There is a touch of citrus coming through, kind of like lemon and lime, but it's not a sharp citrus fruit. But loads and loads of fruit going on here. There is there's apples coming through, there's pears, there's tropical fruit, there's a little touch of citrus. It's very fresh, it's very spring summery. It's, this already, and this is at room temperature, it feels summery almost. Right. And that really continues on the palate. And there is that youthful, not pepperiness, but that youthful kind of almost sparkle, effervescence in the mouth. But that tropical fruit note that's in the nose really comes to the fore. And I don't want to say it's got a slightly rummy element, but it kind of does. And I'm not saying this is a whiskey for rum drinkers or anything like that, but there is a marked amount of tropical fruit notes going on in here. There is mango, there is papaya, there is a touch of passion fruit. There is this sweetness in there, and it's slightly sweeter on the palate than it is on the nose. But it's offset by the youthfulness, which actually still gives it a little bit of bite and a little bit of zing. It's really almost refreshing. It's quite mouth-watering. It's quite juicy on the palate. If you eat kind of like a really fresh mango, there's even a touch of pineapple in there as well. Like a really juicy piece of pineapple or a really juicy piece of mango, and your mouth is watering with it. It's very, very mouth-watering indeed. But there is that slight bite at the back of the throat, obviously depending on how you swallow, but it actually lifts everything. It makes it not too sweet. It makes it actually balanced really, really well. This will make really good cocktails. I'm very, very tempted to try this in something like a Mai Tai. I think there's enough sweetness in there and enough tropical fruit notes that will work in a cocktail. It's a fantastic whiskey. It's really, really good. And it's different enough from the standard bottling that I can see exactly why they've done this as a kind of a limited edition. This is taking Nc'Nean in a slightly different direction. So if you like light whiskies, if you like tropical fruit whiskies, if you like tropical fruit, if you do like rum, this is definitely, dare I say, if you like rum and whiskey, this is actually almost kind of a combination of the two, but in a very, very good, very well balanced way as well. I highly recommend this. Now, they are out of stock at the distillery. Their stock has now gone, so if you go onto the website to try and buy a bottle, they don't have any. I do have a small amount left. I was a little bit late to the party, but fortunately I had allocation already assigned to me. I know there are some places already sold out, but you can still get it through me, which is nice, so I'd very much appreciate it if you did. So the retail price is $84.99. That is basically across the board. So if you do want a bottle, head to the website, www.spiritspecialist.com, or pop in store. I've got a little bit left that you can try if you want to try before you buy, and I shall hopefully see you very soon. That's me done. I shall see you in the next video. Cheers.